Good morning, everyone. Is everyone back from the breakout? They're coming back. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone here, all of you online. Wonderful to see you all on such a cold and snowy morning in Chicago. I love this song. I love you. It's an honor to be here with you this morning and to just share these teachings about the Dharma, which are so sane and practical. So I wanted to talk about the lotus and the sea of fire. You know, the lotus. I first, there's a story about Suzuki Roshi, and he, towards the end of his life, he went and got a diagnosis, and he came back and told Mrs. Suzuki that he had something that was people could catch. So he was really sad because he couldn't join the Sangha in the cafeteria for meals. And then he went back, and they apparently had misdiagnosed him. And the doctor told him he had cancer, but it wasn't contagious. So he went back and he told Mrs. Suzuki, he was really happy. He said, "Look, I got cancer and I'm going to die, but I can go to the cafeteria and be with the Sangha." Yeah. So we just finished a 7-day retreat. Some of you sat in those fires, the lotus and the fire, and you know this practice isn't easy. It's physical, it takes energy, the body hurts, body doesn't want to sit still, and yet when we do this practice, it's liberating. And no amount of words will explain what that experience is unless you have it for yourself. And the lotus, it's a good metaphor. The lotus grows out of the muddy water. And that muddy water is the fertilizer. It's our lives. It's our difficulties, our suffering, our insecurities, our anxiety. That's an alchemical process. That's what practice is. When you face your own suffering and the suffering of others, then you grow out of that muddy water, and you are indestructible. You are a Vajra diamond in the fire. And you're indestructible because that experience is not conditional. So the fire, you can bloom in the fires of hell, and it doesn't take you down, because that mind that is already yours is pristine, never been wounded, never been bent, never been scratched, never been hurt, indestructible. So I met Suzuki Roshi. He was the first Zen teacher I met over 55 years ago. I think I was a senior in college, and I drove from Southern California up to the San Francisco Zen Center, and I knocked on the door, and somebody opened it up, and there were all these people in black robes, just like this, walking around looking at the floor. And I thought, this is really off-putting. They look like automatrons. And I said, well, I'm never going to live in a community like that. A year later, I'm living at the Zen Center in Los Angeles, wearing the robes, looking at the floor. But I met Suzuki Roshi in that cafeteria, and it changed my life. And he didn't say anything profound to me. He just was who he was, and it was enough. And I then, shortly after that, I found my Zumi Roshi, who was closer to home for me, and I started going and sitting at the Zen Center Los Angeles with my Zumi Roshi, and I did my first 7-day sesshin with Kori Roshi, which was really intense. And I swore after that, I'm never gonna do another one of these sesshins. And just like I ended up at the Zen Center wearing robes and looking at the floor, I'm still doing sesshins 55 years later. And grateful, so grateful that we have this sangha that supports each other. We don't sit for ourselves. We sit in the fires. We sit with all sentient beings, and that vow that we just chanted, to save all sentient beings, that's an infinite vow. When are we going to save all sentient beings? It's a work in progress. But it's infinite. So it's worth remembering, and it has been said before by others, and I've spoken of this before, to remember where Chan came from. Chan is the Chinese word for Zen, and Chan was really came to life at the end of the Tang Dynasty. And at the end of the Tang Dynasty, China had big borders, and they had to defend their borders, so they outsourced their military, essentially. They invited Mongol mercenaries in to defend the borders, and then at some point the soldiers didn't want to go home, and they had a huge civil war, rebellion that lasted for a decade. It's called a Lushan Rebellion, and it said that 1/3 of the Chinese population died from war, starvation, disease. 1/3. And there were two great Zen teachers that came up at that time. It was Shitao and Matsu. Matsu represented the Rinzai line, and Shitao represented the Soto line. And their centers were not close to the palaces or the places of political power, because those places, they shift like the wind, the one. So they had a certain advantage of having some distance from the political centers of political power. And the teaching they gave was walk in the carnal grounds, go out and be bear witness to, don't turn away from the suffering, turn towards it. That was an incredible teaching, and actually strangely inspiring. Because our instinct is to do the opposite. And yet when you do this practice, you start to see, this is where the power of practice is in turning towards your own suffering and the suffering of others. And when you do this, you are resilient. And if you take these 6 paramitas of a bodhisattva to heart, then you can practice this vow of saving all sentient beings, and you can be the lotus in the fire. So I've got a good story I told yesterday, but you haven't all heard it yet, so I get to share it with you now. The scientists, they want to do an experiment, and they wanted to see if they could make a pessimist happy, and if they could make an optimist miserable. So they took the pessimist And they gave him all these wonderful toys to play with, great high-tech things, you know, iPhones and laptops and drones and all the latest stuff. And they came back to visit him a few days later, and he was miserable because he was afraid someone was going to steal his toys. I said, well, that didn't work out very well. Let's go work on the Alchemist and see if we can make him miserable. So they put the Alchemist in the field, and they got a couple of truckloads of the freshest horse shit they could find. Hot, steaming horse shit. Really nasty stuff. And they dumped all that horse shit on top of the Optimus. And it's a pile of horse shit in the field, you know, sitting there steaming and smell it from miles away. And it starts to move a little bit, and it starts to shake. And pretty soon the Optimus pops out and says, "Where's the horse?" So, you know, if we could just go back to the Buddha's teachings, you know, they're so sane. I mean, and it's really amazing. I mean, his first teaching after his enlightenment was that he gave the teaching of the Four Noble Truths. And just like Dogen, he changed words. The word noble, up to that point, had meant, if you were noble, it meant you were born of privilege in a noble class of people, right? By heredity, and that's what a noble person was. And Buddha said, no. Noble is someone who you're noble if you turn towards your own experience and face your own suffering and work with yourself. That's noble. He totally changed the meaning of the word. Now, I don't think the Buddha intention was to be free of suffering completely. He was a realistic person. I think he understood that suffering is going to take place. So the Four Noble Truths, I don't think were a teaching about escaping suffering, but they were a teaching about how we, when suffering arises, and just to acknowledge that suffering arises is already noble, to name it. Yeah? Yeah, it's noble. No one had done that before. So to acknowledge the suffering is our existential condition, and then the second noble truth is we cling, we get stuck, we get hooked. So it's our reaction to the suffering that becomes the second arrow, so to speak. And makes it worse. And he said there's a way to live, there's a path, there's a way to wake up, a way to not shoot second arrow. And then he gave the teaching of the Eightfold Path. Right view, right resolve, intention, motivation, right speech, right conduct, behavior, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right samadhi. And that word right can also be translated as wholehearted. Buddha is saying it's possible to live wisely if we inquire into our experience directly, with courage, and we do this wholeheartedly, we will find that our mind is pristine, and that the truth of who we are is unconditional. And so this mind, this vow that we take, it's infinite and it's indestructible. He changed another word. The second teaching the Buddha gave, I believe it was the second teaching, was the fire sermon. And again, he gave this sermon to a group of fire worshippers that were in the Vedic tradition, and they worshipped fire. They used fire rituals, which was very common in Brahmin religion, to please the god. And again, Buddha totally changed the meaning of the word fire, not to be a ritual to please gods, but fire is the fire of suffering. And here were his words, bhikshus, all is burning. And what is all that is burning? The eye is burning, visible forms are burning, eye consciousness is burning, eye contact is burning. Also feeling, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, that too is burning. Burning with what? Burning with the fire of lust, burning with the fire of hate, burning with the fire of delusion. It is burning with birth, aging and death, with sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. I say, the ear is burning, sounds are burning, the nose is burning, odors are burning, the horseshit is burning, the tongue is burning, flavors are burning, the body is burning, tangibles are burning, the mind is burning, mental objects are burning. Boy, that's some teaching. Yeah. I don't think the New Age people would like this one. So, he didn't just speaking directly about suffering. You're not going to avoid suffering by doing rituals and trying to please gods. He was so practical. He was a psychologist, basically, wasn't he? Empirical, practical. So look into your own experience. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to have a faith in some dogma or belief. Just look at your own experience. Sit down long enough and be with your own mind and do this wholeheartedly, and you will discover that you are Buddha and you are a bodhisattva. And in your heart, in your sad and tender heart, is enormous strength. And you have a sad and tender heart if you turn towards suffering. You break your heart. And that broken heart, that sad and tender heart, we call that bodhicitta, that is great strength. You don't discover bodhicitta if you run away from suffering. You discover bodhicitta when you bear witness to life as it is. You don't turn away. And it doesn't take you down. You move through it. I still remember at Auschwitz we did the Kaddish with Rabbi Singer. The first time we went out, she and Roshi and I, we would go to some, in Auschwitz, it was dark, really dark and difficult, but the beauty of being at Auschwitz was we were there with a Sangha, and so we could do it. I couldn't have done it by myself, but I was there with other brave people, and we told stories, and we would go to different sites, and they were terrible, just terrible. And Rabbi Singer, who was just the most beautiful, he passed away recently, but he would sing the Kaddish, move. You know, I got this thing about Jewish religion, about the movement of the Kaddish, that you move, you're, it's percolating, you're bearing witness, it's not static, and it doesn't get stuck, it just moves, so you move through it. And one night, we would go into this auditorium, which was it was a scary place. June and me were sleeping upstairs, and this is where the SS officers slept, and there's a big auditorium there. Who knows what they used that for, but we would use it every night to tell stories. People would get up and tell incredible stories. And one night, Rabbi Singer got up to explain the Kaddish, and as happens with Rabbi Singer, he got a little carried away, and he was singing it, and before we knew it, we were all dancing in the auditorium. There was must have been 150 of us. We're dancing, singing the Kaddish. And then we stopped, and then we were this was at the beginning of the retreat, so some people were saying, were we celebrating too early? We're in Auschwitz. Has anyone ever danced here before? Did we just do something disrespectful? And someone asked Bernie to fix it. And Bernie said, I'm not here to fix anything. So, you know the vision of our Zen Center? It's on our website, but I don't think I've ever actually said what our vision is. Our vision is an awakened world that transforms suffering into compassion and delusion into wisdom. That's a vision. When will we achieve that? Vision is infinite. It's a work in progress. Our bodhisattva vows are infinite. It's important to know what game we're playing. There are finite games that we play, like football, which is great, you know, that's a finite game. It has 4 quarters, I believe, right? Halftime. Has a beginning and an end. You know who the players are going to be, and somebody wins and somebody loses, and when the game is over, you go home. That's a finite game. And it's competitive. And it's great, you know. I don't know how you were when you were younger. When I was younger, I played sports. I loved competing and playing games like that. And we still play games, finite games. There's nothing the matter with a finite game, but you should know what game you're playing. And the game we're playing here, it's infinite. They say in the indigenous traditions, they have a saying, don't make a decision without considering the next 7 generations. That's an infinite game. Yeah, when are we gonna win? Nobody wins this game. Nobody loses here. And the players come and go. Yeah, America was founded on a vision, a beautiful vision. Yeah, here, so I'll read it. It's in our Declaration of Independence. Actually, white people come to this country because we were founded on a vision. In the Declaration of Independence, the words that have inspired people all over the world. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the vision. Have we fulfilled it? an infinite game is it's big enough to inspire us. It's big enough. The Bodhisattva vow, that's big enough. That's worthy of your passion. It's worthy of your consideration. It's worthy of your attention. And to live according to that vow is to be the lotus in the fire. When you're the lotus in the fire, you're not sitting for yourself. You're sitting with everyone. So I'm going to finish, and then we can have some discussion about this with a quote by Uchiyama Roshi. Since our practice is one of putting this Dharma, the reality of life, to work in our day-to-day life, our practice is limitless and infinite. Precisely because our practice functions in an unlimited way, there is the realization of the great person, the six paramitas of the Bodhisattva. And this Dharma, the reality of life, seimei no jitsubutsu, never means just our physical life, nor our sense of just surviving. As I have been saying all along, this life is the life of the whole universe. It is the life including all realms and all sentient beings, always aiming at the true reality of life, and practicing it are what is most important for us as disciples of the Buddha. May all beings be free of danger and violence. Wow, that was a short talk. We could have some discussion, conversation. Any thoughts, comments? Online, you're welcome to speak up. Just unmute yourself and speak if you want to say something. Happy to see you all here. Yeah, Gary.
Well, thank you as always, Roshi, for sharing your thoughts with us. One of the stories from some time ago that always stuck in my mind related to the pessimist and the optimist was this very wealthy man was approached on the street by a woman who knew he was wealthy, and she said, I have a poor sick child, needs medical care, and can you please, help me out with money? And so he wrote a big check.
Where'd that come from? He wrote a big check, and then he was distracted by someone's cell phone.
Yeah. So somebody else was observing the whole thing, and then they gave the money. So the observer said, "Did you just give her money? That woman's a fraud. She doesn't have a sick child. She's always trying to pull this off." And the man said, "There's no sick child? That's the best news I've ever heard."
Yeah, someone said the other day, I give money to anyone that asks for it, because if they're asking for it, there must be some reason why they're asking for it, I remember the first street retreat I did with Bernie. We were gonna go, it was early on in the retreat. We all thought we had a great idea. We were going to go beg and make enough money to go to Bernie's favorite pizza restaurant and buy a pitcher of beer and get some pizza. And so we all went out begging, panhandling. First time I ever panhandled. First and last time I ever panhandled. It was really hard. It was humiliating. I would put my hat out, people walk by, don't even look at me. Black guy down the street, he's panhandling, he's getting lots of money. I got nothing. We all came back. None of us made any money. We couldn't have the pizza that night. Didn't get it. it's hard. So someone in the session said, I forget who it was, said, you, yeah, Jackie, you know, someone, what did you say?
I said, my philosophy is if someone's asking for money, even if they have money, there's something going on with them. So there's no, I'm not going to say no just because they're asking, even if I think they might be scamming.
A couple of things that I thought about. I was thinking about, when you're talking about opportunities of wealth and what we carry with us or don't, talking about pessimism and optimism. It made me think about the story that's in, I think, the Lotus Sutra about the man who's a drunk and out of it, and his friend sews a jewel, a pearl, or whatever into his coat, and because he's dead drunk. And at any rate, years later, he runs into the guy, and the guy hasn't changed. He says, "What's the matter with you?" He says, "Just haven't gotten anywhere." He says, "I sewed that jewel right in you. You've been carrying it all along." And I really love that because it speaks to me about how the opportunity of goodness and of positiveness is always there.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about is that I just so happens that I'm reading a book by, I've got Roshi in my mind for some reason. Roshi, one of his books, and he's talking about life and death. And I started thinking about the evening gatha. Life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes quickly, opportunity is lost. Awaken, awaken, awaken. Do not squander. Thank you. Do not squander your life. And I think that's some of what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, so it's an incredible, all the preliminaries in the teachings are often one of the main ones is to just appreciate how rare and precious our human life is. To be born a human being in our circumstances, how precious that is, that we have this life, to not take that for granted. Yeah.
And I think when Katagiri is talking about life and death, he's talking about moment to moment. Every moment is death and life.
Yeah.
Or life and death.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lovely.
I love the talk, and it kind of struck me that this Teisho, particularly it hit me when you said, "Oh, it's short." Well, because it felt like a halftime speech in a game, and just sort of, hey, we've been through tough times before. Okay, we can do this. But for me, this past week, I could not go to Sesshin, but I got hit with some very fortuitous news. Incredible good fortune. I wasn't expecting it. And it filled me with existential dread, which struck me as kind of interesting, because none of us can come here to the Zendo, become part of the Sangha, because everything is so great. Okay? And we come here because there's something really bugging us, and it reminds me of, in the identity of absolute, relative and absolute, that there is light within the darkness, but do not look for that light. It's easier to find the light in the darkness, I think, than to experience the light. And then we find, we get hit with, at least this week, I got hit with that darkness. So to me, it's that goal for equanimity. When things are bad, we can hunker down, become part of the Sangha, go out for the second half and do our best. But for me this week, it was very ironic that good news set me off negatively in a very big way. And your talk kind of hit that with me.
That's insightful. I think we're often more afraid of freedom than we are of our suffering. I mean, just do a thought experiment. imagine that you had complete, unlimited freedom right now. You had a genie and you rubbed the bottle and that came out and said, you have absolute, unconditional freedom. What would that be like? Would that be like winning the lottery? I don't think so. Absolute, total freedom? Well, I don't know if that's so great. That's involves some responsibility. Yeah, so, and this practice is a path to freedom. But I think you have to walk through fire to really appreciate what freedom is and how liberating this, the joy and the sorrow. The bearing witness isn't about fixing anybody, it's about, it's just about being with the suffering, being with your grief. And there's no possibility for nirvana without samsara. So we can't have enlightenment without delusion.
By the way, the founding fathers knew that as well, because it doesn't say in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and happiness. It says the pursuit, there's a path.
Yeah.
And it gives us the right to follow that path, but not for the happiness itself.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Well, they didn't all agree about that, because the Federalist Papers, if you read them, there's quite a bit of debate in there about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think.
Get up and dance and cut.
Who is that over there? Okay. I think that was a signal. We can close. Thank you, everyone. Anyone online have anything? I'm sorry I didn't. Yeah. Robin, yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say I appreciate the long view that you gave this morning. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Robin, well, I can't, we were in council, so I can't say. Yeah. Robin is one of is in the stitching circle. Stitches blankets for babies. Yeah. You know, our acts of kindness don't have to be big dramatic things. They can be simple. You get up in the morning and what can I do to improve the life of my family or people around me? How can I help someone that's struggling? How can I, it's not fixing them, can I just be with them? Could I listen to them? We need to be heard. We need to be seen. And, you know, when I was doing that panhandling, and I didn't make any money, but if someone looked at me, I felt fine, you know. It's like, they looked at me. It was really amazing, but they walked by without looking at me. It was like, that is shit. We need to be seen. We need to be heard. And our bodhisattva actions don't have to be grand, dramatic gestures. They can be very simple. Just acknowledging someone.
I have
Yeah,
it's like such a perfect topic. A friend of mine was incarcerated this week, and just suffering and,
Mm,
and how to help someone and how to, you know, it's been really significant,
that's hard.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people incarcerated, and they're pretty much invisible to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sandy?
Thank you. I really appreciate Robin's comment is very well taken about the long view. What for me is so important is that you take complex teachings and you break them down so that I can understand them and make them relevant to where I am now. And I thank you so much for that. By the way, I'm very cautious of citing anything from our founding fathers who were not the least bit interested in addressing the fact that we took over, we conquered, we confiscated land that did not belong to us, and then systematically tried to exterminate an entire group of people, either by shooting them or infecting them with venereal diseases in the hope we'd kill them all off. And thank God we did not. So I'm very cautious of referring to founding fathers without a caveat that says, yeah, well, but. But thank you for making complex issues and thoughts accessible.
Okay. Again, I'm grateful for this. You know, to be a Buddhist is to take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Buddha is our awakened nature. To take refuge in this mind that is pristine. It's unconditional. We take refuge in the Dharma, which is all the differences. The phenomenal world is sacred. All that goes with the suffering in the phenomenal world. Being born a human being, getting incarcerated, being sick. And we take refuge in the Sangha, the harmony of the Sangha. The Sangha is a harmony that arises when the Buddha and the Dharma are in accord. When we practice not knowing, and we bear witness to the joys and sorrows of our life, the Buddha and the Dharma are in accord, and what comes out of that is a harmony of this Sangha. We are not a country club. We are not a tribe. We're a Sangha. We include everyone. That's our vision. Not everyone comes here, but everyone is welcome here. Regardless of your tribe, your ethnicity, your gender, your politics, everyone is welcome here. That's what a Sangha is. And that's why this is a treasure. Well, you're the treasure. You are the Zen. So please take good care. Take good care of yourself and take good care of the three treasures. And then, you know, I remember a long time ago, my Roshi said, just take care of the Dharma and it'll take care of you. And you know, I've found that to be true most of my life. And it's hard to have that kind of trust in the Dharma, but when you trust the Dharma, you're trusting something that's sane and unconditionally good, unconditionally worthy. Worthy not because someone needs to approve of you, but because you're already worthy, you're already sane. Basic teaching of the Dharma. Okay, so I know times are tough. I know there's a lot of fear out there. I know there's a lot of confusion and a lot of division and anger and hatred, and all that is in our culture right now. And so it's really important to keep your feet on the ground and take good care of yourself so that you can take good care of people around you. Because if you don't, you will get taken, it's not so easy to be a lotus in the sea of fire. You have to practice so that that lotus comes out of the muddy water. If we don't practice, we'll get taken down by the fires. So please, take good care of your life. It reminds me, Roshi said, appreciate your life. That was his whole teaching. Thank you.
Yes. 50 years ago, they were dating. Yes, I looked at this, so this is his mother. Yes, this is the one. He's like a movie, very good. I was gonna say, that wasn't a drone then. And then what is he? This is you? Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, well, 50 years he was dating. That was fun. I forgot mine. Yeah, yeah. You better get time to an opportunity as well. But it's coming over to just the idea of how ladies is and I just the things that you consistently push them. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, and I noticed that. Yeah, and just sort of experience see like how that to just filtering. Especially a weird state of I just was writing it. Yeah. I love the other students in month. I know. I am. Also the realize what schedule is for and most people say, I don't do that. You've already got. So when I was writing, yeah. Because 6 isn't announced it.
Oh, good.
I did last week too, so I announced it today, so we'll see. Anyway, so, something to get doing their gardening and DIY. We do both for the band, and we do it after they come in. Yeah, Margaret's kids are Friday, adults now. Absolutely. I missed you yesterday. There was a retreat, that's why. Yeah, and I'm glad you guys were cool with having a kinship this morning. And I'm like to here with stuff with my mouth. Yeah, that was stuff with her. It's a heavy month, you know, so I'm just gonna say, no, we don't have that. How did trivia night go? It went well. I mean, we had, Hannah was gonna do it. Oh. She was sick. Yeah. Ken was involved, so Ken and I hosted, and it went really smoothly. I mean, we got her a good co-host, and so went through things, yeah. How many people did you have? We had 13. I didn't really bring it up. This was actually. I think it was kind of like, I don't quite understand how, like, this is happening at Michael's where there's sort of tiered pricing. Yeah. More of the style price, this is the tiered pricing, but everybody bought the tickets. I mean, I probably would look harder. Yeah, so there was a question about like rescheduling it, what happened is, you know, because I was teaching that class and it just, so I wasn't really into that. So I did have a discussion about like possibly, I don't know, give us some guidance. They can't make it.